pet owners of Reddit, what was the most intelligent thing your pet has done? When my son was a baby, he was teething really bad. Constantly running a fever and cranky, we gave him lots of the Tylenol suspension drops. One morning I had the baby wedged in the recliner while I was looking for something. Of course he was crying. Our dog looked at the baby, ran upstairs, came back down a few seconds later with the Tylenol, dropped it in the recliner where it rolled to the baby. Then the dog turned to me and barked until I picked it up. My male Quaker parrot managed to get out of his cage one day and had free roam over the entire house. He stole every pen, pencil, and hair tie he could find and built a nest in the corner of his cage. When we tried to take it down, he guarded it with his life and screeched at us. We got him a few boxes of pencils the next day and let him remodel as much as he wanted. Honestly, he loved building it and fixing it up. It kept him busy and happy. I've got an African grey parrot. I also have a large mirror that leans against a wall. He once walked up to it, studied the other bird intensely after fluffing up and acting like a badass. Then he decided to look behind the mirror for the other bird. Except you could see the confusion when he popped his head behind there only to see nothing. He then looked at me as if I caused this black magic. Then he proceeded to walk behind the mirror and poke his head around so he could look into the mirror while standing behind it. He then looked at me quizzically, studied the mirror, popped his head behind it, popped it back out to confirm, then just walked away. Now, he seems to check himself out in the mirror every time he waddles past it. I swear he knows it's him in the mirror and not just that particular one. If he's in the bathroom with me, he acts the same and appears to be studying himself whenever he gets the chance. Knowing that the reflection in a mirror is you is one of the rare abilities in the animal kingdom, and one which few animals possess the required intelligence to understand. Dolphins, pigs, some of the higher level primates. That's about it. Most other animals can't put the connection together. He also used to taunt the cat and get him to jump on top of the bird's cage. Then he'd yell for us, so we'd grab the cat and scold him. Then the bird would laugh. Happened until the cat learned not to jump on top of the cage. Now, he's scared of the bird and will turn around if he sees the bird walking towards him. This is a completely true story. Weird, but true, and shows a really impressive level of intelligence in my cat. It happened when I was a teenager. I'm sitting on the couch, and my cat walks into the room and starts meowing loudly, but not coming to me. So I stand up and go toward him, and he starts walking away, so I follow. He leads me, meowing the whole way, and looking back to make sure I'm following, to the bathroom. Weird, right? Just wait. So we are in the bathroom, and he hops up on the toilet, and, get this, he pees in it. I was floored. 1. He peed in the toilet. Like a person. He'd never done that before. It's impressive that he knew what a toilet was for. But 2. He brought me there to show me why. This is where the real intelligence comes into it. Well, he stops peeing and turns to look into the toilet and then looks at me. So I look in the toilet. It's full of blood. He had a terrible kidney infection, as the vet later confirmed, and this is how he told me. Think of all the things he had to understand to do this. He had to know he was sick and in which part of his body the infection was. He had to know that the bathroom was the place where I deal with the part of my body that matches up with his sick part. He had to know what a toilet was for and how to use it. And he knew that if I understood the problem, I'd be able to fix it. Seriously, that cat was incredible. One of my pet rats was kinda smart. When they would walk around on my bed, they were able to step onto the windowsill. I used to have blinds in front of my window, and the little cord hung over it down to the ground. At the end of the cord there was this little weight. So my pet rat tried to lift the cord upward, but when of course it kept falling back down because of the little weight. He thought for a minute, and then lifted the cord again, put his front paw on the cord, gripped another part of the cord with his teeth, lifted it upward a little further, put his paw on top of it, etc. He managed to get the rest of the cord and little weight on the windowsill. He did that every day after that. I thought that was pretty smart. Also, I used to have 2 rats that could spin around their axis on command. They knew they would get a snack if they did that. So whenever I opened a bag of potato chips for myself, They started spinning around like 10 times hoping they would get some. I never give my rats chips, for the record. My roommate's dog. We were taking care of another dog for a few days, and he was staying at our house. They got along well enough, but visitor dog kept trying to play, and resident dog never wanted to. One evening, resident dog walks into the living room to find visitor dog is in her favorite spot on the couch. She immediately barks, drops into a playbow, and starts jumping around to play with him. Visitor dog gets super excited that she finally wants to play and abandons the couch. Resident dog drops the play acting and reclaims her rightful throne. My golden retriever leaves a shoe on the bed, without fail, for my wife or I to find if we are both gone at the same time. My theory is that she did it once and we came home, so now she does it every time we leave to ensure that we come back, like a doggy superstition. After doing this for years, my wife had to leave the state for a week. My first day back from work, there was a shoe on the bed. Normal. After my second day back, wife is still gone. There were 3 shoes on the bed. After my third day returning from work alone, every shoe and boot in the house was laid out on the bed and couches, and all of my wife's dirty socks were in a bowl. It may not be the smartest thing she's ever done, but it really made me think about how she thinks. My cat knows that old grocery bags are what I scoop his crap into, so when I slip up and forget to clean his litter box he drags one in there to let me know. I have a blood parrot, smartest fish I've ever had. His tank contains half sand and half white pebbles. However, he's very particular with where and how the floor of his environment looks like. For example, he'll move plants towards certain places if he doesn't like how the ground looks beneath them. He'll place pebbles on the sand part and make a sand pile in the pebbles area. But it isn't random. If you remove a pebble from a little pile, he'll notice it and place another one. If you distort a little sand pile, he'll build more on top of the remains. He'll spend about 3 days carving out a small hole just to see his reflection at the bottom of the tank. If you lightly dusty the empty space with sand, he'll come swimming out of his house, collect the misplaced sand in his mouth and literally throw it at you against the aquarium glass. He's a very grumpy fish, but his personality is amazing. Our family's border collie would ring the doorbell when he wanted to come in. He was never trained to do it. My dad figures he had learned it from my childhood friend coming over to invite me out to play. One time my dog had a minor blockage and we took him to the emergency vet to see what we could do. The vet decided to give him some fluids to try to flush it out. Later that night he woke me up by punching me in the face and looked deeply into my eyes, as if to say this is going to be a photo finish. Let him outside, and he let out the biggest poop I had ever witnessed him take. Thanks for not doing that in the house, buddy. My youngest son, a 2-time cancer winner, was recovering from a particularly ugly round of methotrexate. He was home recovering and my Pomeranian, who was always at my heel, wouldn't leave his side. I was curious, but not concerned and continued my morning chores. I was in the next room when Ping came in like Lassie and barked until I came to see. He returns to my son's side and began to shiver. My son was playing Xbox and seemed okay. I turned to go back to my chores and Ping let out a howl I didn't think he was capable of, and as I turned my son was seizing full grand mal seizures that I recall clearly 11 years later. I was just in time to keep him from hitting headfirst on the hardwood floors. We just put my little Ping down last month. He was my best friend for 17 years and my son's hero forever. We miss you, Ping. Cat would not let me go to sleep and insisted I follow her to the kitchen. We had just gotten a new stove with a glass cooktop and didn't realize one of the burners was still on very low. Thanks, kitty. We have smooth wood floors that can be kind of slippery in socks. One night I took a corner too fast, slipped, and went down hard. I wasn't hurt, just sorta stunned, so I just stayed on the floor for a second. I was belly side down, but propped up on my elbow. When I didn't get up right away, my dog leapt over the couch to get to me, wiggled her body under mine then stood up, so that she was kind of lifting my body up on hers. I'm not sure if it was at all her intention, but I like to think she was trying to help me. As soon as I got up on my own, she proceeded to tackle me and frantically lick my face in celebration. The smartest thing I've seen my cat do is referee when my girlfriend's kitten was trying to fight her older cat. We were initially terrified because my cat was found as a stray, and you can tell that he's had his ass kicked in a few fights back in the day. When we adopted him, when he'd hear the other cats start play fighting, he'd rush out to be there too. He weighed about twice as much as the next biggest cat, and we knew almost nothing about his personality at the time, so of course this filled us with terror. Well, we followed him out into the next room, and he had just managed to perch himself on the coffee table, above the action, and was just watching. When the older cat switched from playing to getting genuinely exasperated with the kitten, he tagged in so the other cat could get away. For months he would do this, so we figured he may have helped raise kittens when he was stray. Anyway, his personality is great, and he's a sweet dumb boy and the best lap cat you could ask for. The vet at the shelter thought he would want to be an outside cat, but once we got him home it was very plain that was not the case. I could leave the door open all day and he wouldn't go anywhere. This cat has no interest in being outdoors again. I'm babbling, but the point is I love this dumb boy.